Greetings everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Ask Shane Anything right here on SIFTD Games at SIFTD.net. I am Shane Satterfield. I am the founder of SIFTD and the host of this awesome Q&A that I do with you fine people every single week. And that's because some of you guys and girls are pledging at $7 or more per month at patreon.com/SIFTD. That is that Ask Shane tier. And we have so many people pledging at that tier that this show keeps on happening, and I enjoy it. However, people who are pledging at that tier, they do get priority when asking questions for this show, though this week, that doesn't really matter, because we got one question this week for Ask Shane Anything. One! It is literally the worst week we've ever had for questions for Ask Shane Anything. So I've had to ask myself a question today, and I had to go up through the thread and find some good questions that I had not yet answered. And so that's what we're getting this week on Ask Shane Anything. If you don't like the questions, you only have yourself to blame. Okay, the first question this week comes from nobody because I am asking it of myself. Hey Shane, what's the deal with the Xbox price increases? Microsoft just reported excellent financials, so why would it increase prices? Well, Shane, the reason that they've increased prices is the same reason prices are going up for everything. It's the stupid tariffs. That's why the prices are going up. So for those of you who maybe missed the news, or maybe you're out and about and you're listening to this podcast, but you haven't been on SIFTD today, basically Microsoft has increased the price of Xbox Series X by $100, so now it's $600, and it has increased the price of Xbox Series S by $80, so now it's $430. Microsoft also stated that a lot of its first-party games coming later in the year will also be priced at $80, just like Mario Kart World. It also announced that the prices of all its peripherals are also going up. So I do hear you. Microsoft did just report pretty good financials. Well, great financials for Microsoft as a whole. That's always going to be the case. I mean, just forget about that part of it. They're always going to have great financials. The Xbox side of things had pretty good financials. Like the overall revenue was up, I think, like 5% year over year. And a lot of that is because it's now selling games on PlayStation. That obviously helps a ton. And then the other part of the financials was that their hardware is down another 7% year over year. So here's the thing. Why would you care about how much Xbox hardware costs if nobody's buying it? I mean, my guess is that's Microsoft's angle on this, is like, who are we going to anger by increasing the price of our console? No one's buying it. So who's going to complain? It's not like lowering the price is going to help us all that much, and it's not like if we increase the price, we're going to take a big hit for it, because nobody cares about Xbox hardware anymore. So I hear you. You look at the Xbox financials, you're like, that seems like you're doing pretty good. Like, why would you do this? It's because it doesn't want to lose money on the hardware. And that's what would happen even at this point. Keep in mind, Xbox Series X and Series S are like old now, and the prices haven't come down. They've finally gone up. Also keep in mind, PlayStation has already increased the price of PlayStation 5 twice in territories outside the US. We're lucky living in the US that they haven't jacked up the price here at all, but everywhere else, it's happened twice. So this is the first price increase for Xbox. I think it did try to hold the line, hoping that being cheaper than PlayStation 5 might help its hardware sales. Obviously, at this point, that is not the case, and it's not going to work. The other thing that I'm kind of curious about is, remember how Microsoft announced that it had 3 new Xbox consoles coming that were supposed to launch like last December? They put out a trailer for it announcing the consoles. It never put out a launch trailer. I also, by the way, have never seen those 3 consoles in stores. Have you guys? Because it has like the weird like black with the green speckled paint on it. I mean, they stand out. And I go to stores like Best Buy, Walmart, Target all the time. I've never seen those consoles in the wild. What happened to them? Did they actually come out? Because there was never a launch trailer for them. And so I wonder, you know, Microsoft, if it did put out those 3 consoles, obviously it did nothing. And it was probably pointless to do the R&D on those consoles in hindsight, because I don't know anyone who has one. No one's talked about having one. I've never seen one on retail store shelves. So did they come out? I'm guessing they did, but with a whimper. And it's over. It's over for Xbox hardware. It's done. So that's the thing. It's like they're increasing the price on something that nobody's buying. So it's kind of like that old fable. If a tree falls in the woods and there's no one there to hear it, does it actually make a sound? If Microsoft increases the prices of Xbox stuff and there's no one there to buy it, does it matter? Probably not. Okay, next up we have a question from Soul Reaver, a new user at Sifted. Welcome. Shane, do you have any fun or interesting stories involving you and Pachter you'd like to share? Oh man, I have just so many. We've been working together for has it been 20 years? Almost 20 years at this point. We've known each other for around 20 years, and he used to come on bonus round at GT, and honestly, up until I started working with him at Sifted, we were just colleagues. Like, we didn't really know each other personally. We weren't like texting each other all the time about stuff happening in the industry. We worked together, and that was pretty much it. And I thought he was great, and I wanted him to do a show with us, and he agreed, and sort of that part is history. But since he started doing Pachter Factor on Sifted, we have become friends. Like, we are really, really good, tight friends now. We text each other about all kinds of random stuff. It's not just about doing the show anymore. And I think that has improved, like our relationship has improved since we started doing Pachter Factor Live. And I'm just going to repeat again what Pachter Factor Live is because people still can't seem to get it. Like every episode of Pachter Factor Live, we get some comment on YouTube. Get him a mic. Get him a good camera. It's like, no, bro, it's live. That we're talking on a webcam. But anyway, it has allowed us to connect because we are talking all week long about what topic we're going to record on Friday. And then on Friday, we jump on the Zoom call and we talk for 20 minutes before we record. Then we record, then we talk for another 20 minutes before we get off of the Zoom call. He's become my friend, like my really, really good, close friend who I trust. And so that's been the big difference over the last however many years he's been doing Pachter Factor with us, is that we've just become friends instead of colleagues. And the other thing I would say too is I've been disappointed that Pachter Factor Live hasn't done better than it has, not just with people on YouTube, but like you guys, because it's so much better. Like we used to have to wait like 4 weeks to ask him something like the Xbox price increase. Now you're getting his take on that stuff the same day. Anyway. So I guess what I would say is that Pachter, over time, he and I have become friends. And so I know his family, I know his wife, I know his daughters, I know what they're doing, I know their jobs. I know I'm like a kind of a part of their family at this point, because I do come into their home once every 6 weeks or whatever to record rounds of Pachter Factor. So he's just become a friend versus someone who works for Sifted or this guy who used to come in and record bonus round with us at GameTrailers. And he's just an awesome dude. His whole family is awesome, by the way. His daughters are incredible. His wife is awesome. You can tell that who he is has trickled down on to the rest of his family. So, I could tell you crazy stories about when we recorded Pachter Factor 100 on the boat and a bunch of stuff fell in the water. I could go on stories about Pachter forever. The times on bonus round at GT where I would tell him he was wrong all the time. For whatever reason, he and I would always kind of go at it on bonus round. But I have lots of stories about Pachter. He's a great guy, great person. He knows his stuff. Yeah. Okay, our last question for this week's episode is the only question that was actually asked by one of you this week, and it comes from Vincent. Is there a good database for who wrote each review at GameTrailers? On a recent stream, Kyle Bossman was playing MotorStorm Apocalypse and recruited Bloodworth to help figure out who wrote the GT review. While we figured out Brooks Huber likely recorded the footage, we're guessing either you or a freelancer wrote the review. Can you confirm if you did or did not write it? Okay, so the first part of your question, is there a good database for who wrote GT reviews? There is not. The only database is my hard drives on my PCs at home. When I left GameTrailers, unfortunately, I probably should have, but I did not download all the reviews that I had copy edited, because I was the reviews editor at GameTrailers for the first 5 or 6 years, and then eventually I hired Miguel Lopez to take that over. So the best database would be on my old hard drives, but some of those were lost because I didn't download a bunch of stuff when I left GameTrailers. But I have like a hard drive on my PC that's loaded with reviews from GT, and I have a little like mini netbook that's loaded with reviews as well. The netbook is broken, and I can't check the files on there, but I do know kind of some of the stuff that you're asking about. So first of all, I reviewed the first MotorStorm, and I reviewed Pacific Rift, I think it is. I did not review Apocalypse. I went back and found the review on YouTube, and I think I figured out who wrote it. And the reason I figured out who wrote it is because I have copy edited all of those guys so many times that I can tell who wrote things by words that they use, sentence structure, verbiage, and I am 95% confident that Ryan Stevens reviewed that game. I went and watched the review, and there are words in the script that only he used. So I am pretty sure it was Ryan Stevens that reviewed it. And sure, Brooks Huber may have recorded the footage. It could have been anybody. A lot of times at GT, we had interns that did that stuff, or Brooks Huber did a lot of that stuff. So yeah, I think it's Ryan Stevens. As far as the database for GT reviews, when we first started doing reviews for the first 6 or 7 years, we didn't put names on the reviews. And so even if I have the review on my hard drive, as far as the text of the review, there's nobody's name on it. So I can't even tell. I literally need to tell just by reading it and figuring out how they wrote and the words that they often used in their scripts, and that's kind of how I figured it out. But there's really no good database at all. The whole concept behind GT's reviews when I launched the reviews at GT is that this is kind of a team effort. So if you notice in the verbiage of those reviews, it always says we instead of I. And it was a collaborative effort to review games at GameTrailers. We would have multiple people play the games. We'd have one person who would play it to finish, and then other people who also played it would come in and we'd talk together and we'd figure out, hey, does this score make sense? Does that make sense? Does this point make sense? So it was a group effort. I'll just say this. GT's reviews were the biggest reviews in the world for 5 or 6 years. Grand Theft Auto 4 did 6 million views. So I think the way that I set it up was working really well. And then once I left and they started putting names on reviews, the numbers went way down, but that could just be a part of, everybody being laid off at GameTrailers and just the whole audience kind of leaving en masse. So that's the best I can give you about reviews from GameTrailers. And again, I was a reviews editor for like 6 years there, but just kind of the way we had it set up and just the lack of foresight on my part to make sure I was archiving stuff well is why we've ended up with this result. Okay, that's it for another awesome episode of Ask Shane Anything. Please, again, go to SIFTD.net. In the header, there's a link to go to our forums where you can ask me questions about anything. Go there, ask questions, because otherwise I have no questions for next week. Because I have now at this point exhausted all the ones that I hadn't answered from before. So if I don't get questions, there's no Ask Shane next Thursday, so get on it. Big thanks to people who are pledging at $7 or more per month at that Ask Shane tier at patreon.com/sifted. You don't have to give us $7 a month to get all our content on day and date. You just need to give us $4 a month for that. But the extra $3 a month ensures that this show keeps happening. Thanks to everybody who gives us anything. Even if you just give this show a like on YouTube or share it on YouTube, that's awesome too. Have yourselves a great week, and we'll see you for Game Face on Tuesday.